Another dark log from the diary of a griever named John Weaver, which is me. Morning, fellow zombies. Are we alive yet? Are we awake yet? Are we sleep deprived and emotionally screwed up? Because I sure as hell am. Alrighty, it is the 21st of March, 2026 of Saturday. Time index right now is about 4:16 in the morning. Why the hell am I up this early in the morning? Well, to let you guys know what's going on, and I know this thing is going to be sideways again when I do these things. It kind of sucks when I do these vlogs and they're sideways and people are having an issue with this. Trying to get this thing to stand up. There have been some topics I'm watching out for. Some are politically motivated and others not so much. If you happen to see anything crawling around the screen, don't freak out. It's still bug war. Plug the power. I've already got enough power in this one. So let's talk, guys. I'll stand it up this time. And yes, you hear interference. That better? Alright. From the coast to coast, we've been seeing differences and changes happening in our culture, in our housing, and everything else we do. Starting off from my own territory of California. Alvera Street. Now, if you're an Angelino, you're a native in Southern California, you understand what Alvera Street means and what it is. It's heart and soul of culture of city of Los Angeles. A representation of what was a long time ago when the city was just barely beginning in the 1800s and expanding in the 1900s and having Mexican culture because Southern California, actually California had been part of the Mexican culture, had been part of Mexico until it was bought by the United States. And that kind of culture still remains in the heart and soul of this whole state, including out here. When we had the immigration ice raids happening, caused by Trump and his lunatics, they were destroying our culture left and right. Immigrants were the lifeblood of our state. The Mexican culture is part of the heritage of my state. I may not speak the language. I love the food. I like the people. And it pissed me off every time we had ice raids, and still continuing to this date, that they're tearing apart our culture, our everything that makes us who and what we are. This is not a white American thing. This is a multicultural environment, landscape, history. Growing up from K through 12, going through school during that time, we were taught the history of California. Even in like grades 1 through 4, we were learning California history. We were part of Mexico. But before we were part of Mexico, we were still in a Native American landscape here. We had multiple tribes up and down the coastline, up and down the state, and extending into what we know as Mexico. Before the immigration onslaught came from Europe. The conquest for money, wealth, power, slavery, and God knows what else. Again, what I keep telling people that we fight over is resources and ego. That's what we do. We fight over that. We want territory, we're fighting for ego. We're fighting for control of resources, but we're fighting for ego. That's what we do. And all throughout our lifetimes, people say, why don't you go back to Mexico? Well, this whole place used to be part of Mexico. I have no issues with it. I got no issues with it. This is part of my heritage. This is part of my landscape. This is part of me. I may not have a drop of Mexican blood in me, or Latino, or Indian. I got European. But the thing is, I grew up in an environment that was multicultural. Pluralism. DEI. The things that scared the hell out of Trump and his cronies and his lunatic MAGAs. This isn't the land of whites only. This is the land of pluralism. We have different cultures, different people coming from around the world to reside in California. And in the street that is owned and operated by the city of Los Angeles throughout the years, before, during, and after COVID, they were experiencing issues concerning about keeping up with the rent and trying to continue the foot traffic that they desperately need to continue operations. We have people who have been there for generations. Shop owners, restaurant owners, tchotchke owners. You've seen them if you're in Los Angeles. You've seen some of those specialty hats with the skull on the face, a happy face skull on it, or a different colored Dodger cap that you would see, and you would get them from Alfera Street. Certain specialty Mexican candies will look like spears, or just kind of angled into a spear with a little plastic stick and everything. They're sweet. They're sweet. And there are certain restaurants in there that you would go in there for full Mexican, authentic cuisine. Well, we have them all over. We have them all over Southland, California, and other places. But Alvera Street, there was a mystique in it. My brother and I, once in a while in our lifetimes, we went over to Alvera Street just to check the things out. One time, my brother and I, when we were still living in the San Fernando Valley, we had taken a trip out to Alvera Street. And we went in the streets. We went in a narrow passageway that had shops lined up on both sides, and then you had the smaller shops right in the middle of it. Now, for somebody who's walking around with a cane or walker, it's a challenge. Wheelchair, oh boy. So it was rocky, and the pavement was pebbly, shall I say. Huge rounded off pebbles cemented with each other, probably with Adobe or something like that. But it was an original pathway. We have a church in that area that's still active. It's cultural, it's a tourist trap, but it's also a center, a place of worship, an active place of worship. And there are different buildings in the area surrounding the Mexican shops that offer supports. But it was just a cultural experience. You're walking through this area. Now, I know different areas in the San Fernando Valley when I was living out there. If you wanted the culture of Mexico, you'd go over different neighborhoods that they would have it. I knew that Arleta had it, Pacoima had it, Van Nuys had it. San Fernando, somewhere. Touches of Mexican heritage, of history. Yes, among other cultures that you had. The Southern California experience. But for me, it was still part of the heritage I was growing up under. I drove past them, drove through them. Run on buses and trains through territories. And there was no issue with me until we had this Trump regime and the stupidity that we voted in November 2024. Actually, 2016 that we started this shit in. It started downroll and downhill. We had COVID nightmare coming in and people trying to manage what they could, shutting things down left and right, and tourism kind of dried up because we had a global pandemic killing us off left and right. And these days, we have immigration insanity going on right now. We have lunatics in the office saying we got to get rid of all the illegal aliens, or basically anybody who is Latino, or not of white skin, or of MAGA thinking. Even those guys are getting nailed left and right. And last year to this year, we still have protests happening to keep ICE out, to keep Trump and his stupidity out. But our streets suffer. Our neighborhoods suffer. Our cultural identity suffers. Alvera Street is the cultural identity of the city of Los Angeles. We lose that, we lose part of our soul, part of ourselves, part of our heritage. Sure, you can get Mexican food anywhere else in the damn neighborhoods, but this was the cultural heritage. And the city has been struggling, trying to keep that street alive. But without the people coming in as tourists and visitors to partake, to buy, to schmooze, to eat, that street's going to die. Part of my heritage is on life support. There's places in there I still want to have food in. I can get Mexican food even in my small town. I've got a mom and pop hamburger shop that does burritos and tacos. Oh, yeah. Big, huge burritos. You just, And I got Mexican restaurants over here that still have the cultural heritage in there. All throughout Southern California and maybe portions a little further up north, we still have Mexican heritage. We still have the heritage of what this place used to be. To keep hearing about Alvera Street slowly dying, it's still a wake-up call. I, for one, like to get back on a damn train, head all the way down to Union Station and walk across the street, foot injury or no foot injury, and walk in Alvera Street and find a certain Mexican restaurant if they're still available and order a bunch of taquitos and burritos, stuff them in a damn bag I've got, an insulated bag, and carry the stuff with me back home. Enjoy maybe a few minutes of culture of my past and my heritage. I'm a Southern California native. I was born in Downey Community Hospital back in '66. Lived in Huntington Park for about a couple of years of my life. the first 2 years, and then didn't even realize it. And then the rest of the time, the 38 years, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, in North Hollywood, and Arleta, and Granada Hills, Sepulveda, North Hills, Reseda. The family had to move out in 2005 because we couldn't find an available place and afford the rent. I got priced out of my home. My valley was my home. Now I just exist in the Antelope Valley. But still, Alvera Street is still part of me and my heritage. I have to go back before they forever shut down. And speaking about shut down, let's talk about Daytona and talk about Florida, shall we? Within the last decade, they've actually had some building collapses in certain areas. And they were still trying to figure out what the hell was going on with the geology. How come the engineering wasn't up to par? Those tall buildings that they had along a strip, right along the beach area, close to it. And they collapsed. It killed a lot of people in there, a lot of residents, to the point where state and local officials were still scratching their heads, talking to management, property owners. I don't think they ever got a result. I never heard any resolutions out the damn thing. But this past week, I think in Orlando, we have another strip area that's having an effect on people's displacement. A huge chain of residential apartments, 1 to 3 bedrooms. They've got cracks, they've got popping noises, and they've got breakage in the building structure, to the point where the city issued a red tag. Got people out of there. Red Cross was established to find people temporary shelter until they could find other shelter. They gave the residents of this one complex about an hour or less to grab all the stuff they can, pack a suitcase, and get the hell out. I don't know when they'll be coming back in again. You know what sucks is when you have to have empty suitcases ready to rock and roll. It sucks when you have to shove shit in there real damn fast. At least overnight stays or longer than that. And maybe not have any time enough to pack all the other personal stuff you're going to lose. I know what it's like to lose stuff like that. Not when an apartment complex is going through evacuations. Oh no. No. I know what it's like to be evicted from one place to another place because of managers, or actually property owners, have ways of, I don't know, looking at the contract specifically, or things that you do or mistakes made and get kicked out. In the town of Roseman, California, we have a few motels in this place. It's not regarded as a traveler's town per se, but maybe a layover or stopover. At one time, before the COVID kicked in, they had air shows happening out here, and people would go see the air shows and fill up the hotels, motels that we had. We don't have any big brands. We have smaller mom and pops managing these places. We do get travelers, weary travelers, who are on the road. We get truck drivers coming in. But we also have other residents coming over as well to stop for a night or two, maybe for a month. We have a lot of eateries in this town. A few notable passed away, faded into history, and turned into something else. But it's just a waypoint for travelers going through California. I know Palmdale and Lancaster would have the larger chains over there because they're the larger cities. We're just dealing with the mom and pops. But we still have culture of the town. We also have culture of our state here. But the one thing I keep looking at the motels that we have are emergency evacuation points. In the event that we happen to have something catastrophic with anything of our apartment complexes we have, and we have a few of them out here in this town of Roseman, California. I looked at the short-term use and lease of the apartments that we have. Actually, the motels that we have. They're not equipped to deal with a massive amount of people coming through it. I mean, we've got about 70 units, maybe more, in the place I live in. But half are occupied or still struggling. Our sister complex, Roseman Gateway. I don't know how many people they got over there. I know they got over 100 and something. Maybe more than we do. But I'm thinking of a scenario here, guys. I'm thinking of a scenario that if we happen to get into a situation regarding what Orlando's dealing with. Now, it may be completely different environmental and geologic situations happening, and maybe construction sucked that allowed an entire complex of over 100, 150, maybe 200 being evacuated because of structural deficiencies, cracks, and loud popping noises of the building having issues maintaining its stability. Now, since I've been here for nearly 10 years, several years anyway, I haven't had that problem here except when we've had an earthquake or two. And I keep looking at the superstructure just to see if we're going to be crashing down, and we haven't been there yet. But it still worries me. It still worries me in this place. How fast can I get myself together? Throw something in a few duffel bags. Wrap them up on a small cart. And barely have the ability to get the shit out of here. Let alone going to a place by foot. With or without the boot on it right now as it is. Where the hell would I go? To the motels we've got, and if I've got enough money in cash, maybe. If the Red Cross had set up vouchers for places of that, I'd be able to go. If I was actually able to get the stuff moved on to transit, where the hell would I go in Lancaster? Yeah. You got several places out there, but not exactly within a bus range. Not yet, anyway. But out here in the town of Roseman, some places are within walking distance. They have a long walk. A lot of stuff wrapped up on a small cart. Everything else I've got. But if I had to, I had to. But I think about these situations and scenarios. Every time I'm watching YouTube and seeing within a day or two if one particular apartment complex is having issues or another place is having issues. That's something I have to do for me. It keeps me aware and it keeps me apprised of places away from me would have a nightmarish effect if it happened here in my hometown, in my home place. I'm not talking about the politics getting involved, but that can also be an effective, it can also be something added to it too. That being said, guys, it's Saturday. I probably need to get a few things taken care of in this time. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it or not, but I'm going to have to anyway. Because I got to get this place together again. But that being said, just wanted to say what was going on in my mind.